Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of July 16, 2019. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looks like we have a quorum this evening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I don't think we have to appoint anybody for alternates. We don't have any alternates. Okay, very good. Roll call of members present. Michael Proto, Chair.
Kimberly Queen, Vice Chair.
Kate Stevens, member.
James Buffetti, member.
Tony Jarecki, clerk. Josh Smith, member.
Calvin Lynch, selectman's rep, maybe a member.
Okay, maybe. All right. The first item is public input on non-agenda items. Items not on the agenda scheduled for this evening. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? I recognize Mr. Charbonneau. Why don't you come to the table? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Rick Charbonneau, and as you know, I'm on a butter to Mel's Tee Off Spooky World. And over the last couple of months, they started construction on the closing in the buildings that were there. And through several months that we were before the planning board with my attorney, Morgan Hollis, they showed renderings that they were going to do bond boards on the pavilions, when in fact they've done texture 111. I brought that to the attention of the code enforcement officer who put a cease and desist on. As it turns out that the acting building inspector issued permits without looking at the plans apparently. So the renderings weren't looked at. So after some discussion with town council, the acting zoning administrator decided to lift a cease and desist that he had put on the project till that gets. So since then, I've appealed to the zoning board and also gone with the court system. It was never my intention to file with the court system, because if it was, I would have at the beginning. Mr. Lynch is here. He gave building permits out there to buildings that clearly weren't on the site plan. In the haunt area, there were permanent buildings when there was supposed to be 9 haunts. I think when after pleading with you guys for a few meetings, you decided to do a site walk. And I think you all saw how permanent the temporary buildings were. And got to see that. So it's never been my intention to spend taxpayer money fighting Mel's, but now we're in that situation that we're pursuing it. And I'm bringing it to the planning board's attention because I think it's critical that you guys are spending your time doing this, and we have officials not doing what you've asked them to do. And here we are. So we're spending money because building inspectors aren't doing what's on your site plans. And that's happened several times now. And somehow it needs to stop. If the planning board approves a plan, people should have to build that plan, not something that they can convince somebody else to do. And that's what they've done here. Once again, they've convinced. They submitted the drawings. They're the ones that proposed the architectural renderings that we pushed for, that you guys accepted. And guess what? They're not doing it. And so I'm bringing it to your attention. I don't know if you know of it. You know that it's happening. but it is. And I think the planning board needs to figure a way to be more involved in the issuance of permits. However that is, whether you guys have to sign off, whether it's in your regulations, but that needs to happen. We have way too many things just happening out here. There's things that are being built that just aren't on site plans, and it's wrong. You know, I've built many, many things in this town, and I would like someone to take one thing that I've done that wasn't on my site plan. Okay, because we believe that when a site plan is approved, that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to go try to convince somebody else to do something other than what the planning board approved. And that's what, that's what I believe should happen. The other thing, I was watching a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad that you are looking at the requirements for handicap people. I think that's a very important thing that I tried to push for when we were doing that site plan that we didn't do. And I think some of you as board members have looked into it and found that the Disability Act is something that is real, that needs to be followed. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, we thank you for your comments, Mr. Charbonneau, and we'll definitely take them into consideration. Thank you. Okay. Any other members of the public this evening who have anything on non-agenda items? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close public input on non-agenda items, and I'm going to go to the first order of business tonight. This is a continued site plan review for VAB Properties, LLC, at MAP 1, Lot 1855, Charles Bancroft Highway. Purpose of the plan is to show a proposed self-storage facility with a total of 13 buildings totaling 42,925 gross square feet, located in the Southern Commercial / Industrial Service District. Is the applicant here this evening? Yes. So why don't we have you come on up?
I have to step back on another
Okay.
one.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, note for the record, Mr. Lynch is stepping down for this portion of the meeting. Okay. Well, good evening. Why don't you introduce yourselves to the board and this evening?
Good evening. Tucker McCarthy, Keach Nordstrom Associates.
Dana Boucher. Okay, welcome. So we did have a site walk a couple weeks ago on the property. I thought it was very useful to go out there actually and take a visual look at what was being proposed. I think board members who came thought it was probably very helpful as well. So I guess we continued this hearing, I think specifically to address some of the issues on the plan. And I know I have, and I know the town engineer, Lou Caron, who's here this evening, good evening, has provided us with a report. And also you folks responded to that report. So I think what I'm going to have you do is maybe just go over a little bit of what you've done thus far on the project and where we are right now in terms of the plan and so forth. So I'll let you speak, and then if the board has any questions, we can ask questions as we go.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So as you mentioned, this project is located at 55 Charles Bancroft Highway. The applicant is VAB Properties. We did have a site walk a couple weekends ago, which I thought was very useful and productive use of everyone's time. So since the last hearing and the site walk, what we've done is we've incorporated comments from the town's review engineer, from the planning board. We had a few comments from the fire department. And we did resubmit plans and documents last week. I want to thank Louis very much for responding. He actually responded to those revised plans after receiving them this morning. So I want to thank him for turning that around very quickly. And he had a few remaining comments that I think he would agree are pretty minor in context, and we're happy to respond to those. We can go through some of the comments and some of the items that the board had requested or that they had concerns about that we had provided some responses to. So like I said, we received a few additional comments, which we will respond to. I also have received comments from NHDES in regards to our alteration of terrain permit, which were also very minor, and we will respond to those as well. I'd like to kind of just go through a couple of the items. I hope that the board has gotten a chance to review the information that we resubmitted. I know one of the big concerns on the board was how many units would be on this site, and Dana's supplier was nice enough to do a preliminary study of the area and what the demand was and put together a unit count and layout. So I hope that you were able to review that. The total came out to 336 units for this site. And so what I did is I kind of wanted to present this parking exhibit just to kind of show you. I know one of the issues was we were requesting a waiver for reduction in parking, but what was the required parking? So I did that calculation. It's 1 per 5 storage cubicles plus 2 spaces for employees, which comes out to a requirement of 69 spaces. So we are providing 4 spaces where the office will be, including an accessible space. And so what I did is I actually laid out parking spaces throughout this site as if people were going to be parking in parallel spaces, which are 8 by 22.5 spaces, just to kind of show the board that if in fact that many people showed up, that there would be adequate space on this site. Now, I can't say that everybody would line their cars up perfect like that. I don't think that would happen, but I do think that it shows that there's enough space. The likelihood of that many people showing up at one time is pretty much slim to none. So, the requirement 69 spaces, we're proposing 4, and just based on the nature of how this site, being that they're at-grade units, we felt that the waiver request was reasonable. So I can keep going, or we can do questions all at the end, or if you guys want to give me input, feedback, questions on that.
Does the board have any questions so far for the applicant? Okay,
Okay.
continue on.
So the next item that I wanted to discuss, and I want to thank Member Stevens for providing us with some planting lists. So we had our landscape architect update the landscape plan, and we have shown a lot of those native plantings and a mixture of other plantings along that southern property line, and I think that will do a great deal in kind of disguising this site as you're approaching from the south going north on Charles Bancroft Highway. So those trees will be planted. We will have a black vinyl coated fence as well. Again, these buildings are only 14 feet to the peak, so they're not that tall. So I think, maybe not right after they're planted, but, after some time that those trees will mature and fill in, and will do a great deal in blocking the site. And we've also done landscaping along the frontage. So that's pretty much the only spot that you're going to be able to see this facility from the road.
Thank you for doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was it evergreen trees? Is that my understanding?
Yeah. So we have a mixture of balsam firs, white spruces, American Hofernbeam, and some pin oaks, and some arborvitaes as well along the property line. This Romy used to work for our company. She works for Terrain Landscaping now, but she still does our landscape plans. So she's a licensed landscape architect. So I had her do this just to make sure that it would look visibly good.
Any questions so far from the board?
I got one question.
Go ahead.
Did I read somewhere there's going to be green slats in the fence?
So that was when we had our conceptual hearing, that was kind of what the board had requested. And then as we were looking through our design, what Dana's experience is with the green slats is that over time they get weathered and they crack and they deteriorate and they just don't look that good. So we had asked, and I think the board had kind of been open to us switching the material to just it would be like a vinyl coated, is it vinyl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Painted black vinyl fence, which we think with the landscaping will look good.
Okay. It just defeats the purpose if it's going to look ugly at the end, basically.
Yeah.
It's weathered,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. All right, so the other item that I want to go over, and it's was already mentioned by somebody this evening, was, and I greatly appreciate you providing us with this ADA information, which I did go over and read. And so the way that we were able to design this site is that there's high points in the middle of each building, and then the grade pitches to the side. It's coming down at 1% in the center, pretty much flat in the middle. So in the worst case scenarios, we're just over 5% at the end. And what this requires is that the access be no greater than 1 in 12, which is typical, which is a little over 8%, which is a typical ramp for ADA access. So luckily, the requirement for over 200 is 10 units plus 2%. So that'll be 17 units. So out of the 336 units, they will have to provide 17 of those scattered throughout different sizes. That's kind of something that they'll have to determine, but I think it'll be pretty easy for them to do once they get into that. When I was reading through this document, I could see that what they were trying to get at is that it's good to, as a good design practice, to think about that stuff as you're doing the design rather than after the fact. So I think at this point, we've kind of looked at it. I think if there was an issue, we may have to identify some places, but I think it'll be something that they'll need to incorporate as they do construction, or they will be in violation of a federal act. So I think that it's good that Dana is aware of that. They will have to shim up some pavement along those units so that somebody could get in and there's no lip, but I think Dana will be able to do that.
Those are those courts too, to pull.
Yeah, they'll have to have this, they'll have to have however they want to do that with the accessible doors. I don't know if they'll be,
My son just
You can
took
buy
the
those
facility
kits.
in Keene that actually they just did that.
so thank you for bringing that up. I was unaware of it, to be completely honest with you, and now I am aware, so. So I just wanted to let the board know that that is something that we are aware of, and that we will definitely make sure that that Dana, as he's operating this facility, takes care of. So other than that, I think that those to me were kind of the big issues. We've added some notes to the plan about no outdoor storage, not allowing hazardous waste storage. Some of Louis' comments have been incorporated. Added some notes in response to fire department's comments. Let's see. We've added notes about hours of operation. Building height was noted. Number of units has been added to the plan. I think that's pretty much it. So we did have 5 comments from the fire department, which we responded to, which were pretty minor. And the police department gave us correspondence that they were all set with the project. So
Very good. Jay, do you have anything you would like to add or?
Not a lot. I think the revisions to the plans really satisfied most of our concerns. I think almost all our concerns, I just add to that some of the storage areas are shown. There is also a note that was added for them regarding the lighting, so that the lighting will be motion sensitive as well as time. So for the most part, I think that really did address our comments. I know, and I think we'll get to it, that consulting engineer Luke Heron does have some additional comments. The only thing I would add is I was still unclear as to the appearance of the buildings. We had talked previously about the colors. We looked at some different alternatives, and my recall was that had not been confirmed. So I'd just be interested to see what the final proposal would be.
I think that we were kind of going with the neutral gray colors. In referencing the breaking up the buildings.
You had shown some renderings and you talked about the color and it was kind of suggested maybe we're leaning this way, but I think I'd be looking for a little.
I know, I apologize, I don't have it with me either, but
It was like a light can and a dark can.
This one.
Yeah, that was it right there.
that is the one I'd like to move forward with. Yeah.
That's it. Here, bring it past it.
It's not the bright orange doors or the green doors.
I apologize. I should have confirmed that was a color choice that they had gone. I realized I probably confused the board because I had presented a different color, but
But in other words, I think the concerns that were expressed at the prior meeting, that's
Mr. Karen, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Most of the comments are pretty minor. It had to do with notations, references that no longer need to be eliminated. Again, nothing serious at all. Just we added a drain manhole, we need to add a drain manhole detail. It's in pretty routine drafting things.
And that's basically laid out in your report, so.
Yeah.
and I'm more than happy to have if the board was open to moving towards our approval tonight, to have a condition of approval for me to satisfy his outstanding comments. I'm comfortable with the comments that he's issued that are minor, that we'd be fine.
Does the board have any questions?
I just had a clarification on the parking. I didn't hear you right. 69 are required and you're providing how many?
4 permanent spaces.
How many total?
Well, if you count all the ones he's laid out parallel to the building, there's 7.
Okay.
This is a reminder, there are 3 waiver requests.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yes, so I guess, yeah, I think that this would be probably a segue. I am gonna open up, well, a public comment is open, technically, but I will open it up to the public. What I'll do is I'll have you discuss, the waiver requests, in detail, and then, if the board has any questions, and then if no one has any questions, then we'll move on to public comment.
Sure. So the one waiver request which we discussed tonight is the request for reduction in parking. Again, the reasoning is that people will pull up at these facilities, park in front of the units, which there's space for, and there's really not a need for a dedicated parking spaces. That is section 120.14.4.AP. The second is from section 150.4, which would be the requirement for a traffic impact study. As we discussed before, these self-storage facilities are extremely soft industrial uses. They really don't generate a lot of volume of traffic, and the impact would be minimal, that we don't think that a traffic study would be warranted. And then the third waiver request is 150.5, internal circulation plan. This facility is a dedicated space that will be closed off from the rest of the property. And there's really no pedestrian circulation inside the facility. People that are using the facility will pull up to their unit. If they are needing to go to the rental office, there's space for them there, and then they would pull in through the gated entrance, go to their unit, and then leave. So we didn't feel that an internal circulation plan was needed. And then we did have the fourth waiver, which was for the escrow requirement, just to reduce the amount, so that the applicant didn't have to tie up $10,000. We provided $500, with the understanding that if there was more money needed, that we would provide that happily at any time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the facility is not going to be open. It's going to be open from like morning to like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night? Is that 8 o'clock at night? So there's not going to be anybody in the facility after those hours. And also, they're gonna have key cards to get in. They'll have access, I assume. Okay.
Is the time listed on the plan? I thought that was supposed to be-
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that we asked about the times on the hours of operation.
So if you look at sheet 1 in the left-hand corner where it says note continued, note number 14 says hours of operation 7 a.m. to, no, that's a typo. It should say 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
Are those hours good? Yeah.
And that's what we discussed at the
Okay.
last hearing. So
That's fine.
I'll update that when I respond to these comments.
On the waivers, Jay, do you have anything that you would add on the waivers?
No, as noted, this is a very low traffic impact business, so the rate request for traffic is reasonable, but I think as noted, also similarly, there'll be the number of cars anticipated in time is minimal.
So what are the?
Does the board have any questions about the waivers?
What are your hours?
Requests? Nothing?
Well, I do have a question.
Okay, yeah.
And then what on Sunday?
So I guess we do have a question from the board about the,
I just want to let you guys finish. So if you are going with the gray facade though, so we would need a waiver for the building massing section that I pointed out at last meeting. For the non-residential facades 50 feet or more in length, they need variations in color and texture, variations in roof forms. So I believe we need a waiver for that section. And I know it's set back from the road and you've covered it very well with the landscaping.
Okay.
But we should have something for that. It's section 120, 13.5.
You're supposed to break the colors up into different colors.
It's supposed to, that is a different color. That's two different
Color
colors.
variations.
It's not enough of a color variation
I wouldn't interpret it as that, but the board may feel
because we can,
differently.
Well, I think we can ask, we would, if the board's okay with us requesting that additional waiver, we would request that as well. Based on that, they're only 14 feet. You really aren't going to see them from the street.
Or back from the road, right?
Yeah.
So, because we've used that before on other
yeah, I believe you're right. That's right.
buildings that we've built since you can't see it from the road.
whatever, that big building down there.
Yeah, yeah.
I do also want to mention that I made a mistake in that they would like the facility to be open Sunday, but from 7 to 5. So if the board's okay with that, I'll update the plans to state that.
Yeah, just as long as they're noted on the plan.
Yeah, sure.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Mr. Karen, do you have any issues with the waiver requests as the,
No, I don't, no.
okay.
The only question I have is, given the parking lot, maybe he doesn't need a waiver. Because he's providing 73 spaces where 69 are required.
I think that the reason we do want to request it is because they wouldn't necessarily be striped and permanent. I kind of just did the exhibit to just kind of show that there's space on the site.
Okay.
But the issue is that I don't think anybody would follow the striped spaces. That's kind of how these facilities work. People may back up to the unit. It's kind of a free for all, but the reason is because there's really not that many people coming through the facility at once.
Okay.
So I guess just if the board doesn't feel they need to be striped, we don't need to do the waiver request. But if my understanding is typically with parking spaces, they need to be striped and dedicated. So I think that we do need the waiver.
How does the board feel about that? Is that
I think that makes sense. Keep the waiver.
a waiver? All right. You had I believe you talked about was it a stormwater management plan you had with DES? Are you still?
Yep.
And is that still in the process of going through?
Yeah. So I think we received comments. I have the letter right here. It was July 12th, so it was end of last week. A lot of it is just cleanup stuff that we'll definitely get back to them. But if the board would like to just have it a condition, we wouldn't be able to start construction until we had that permit anyway.
Right.
So
Okay. All right. So I don't think the board has any objection to that, any condition of approval. Okay.
And I think that some of these, because I hadn't provided them with additional revised plans, Lou had actually caught some of these things that she had, but she doesn't see my revised plans yet. So
All right.
we've already made those changes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if the board has any other questions. If not, I'm going to open it up. Well, obviously, it is already open to public comment, but I'll open it up to the public now. And if there's anybody who has any issues or questions they want to come forward and speak on, have any questions for the applicant. Anybody? Okay. I don't see anybody. All right. Okay. All right, if there's no public comment, then I will, at this time, close public comment on the project. So public comment is now closed. It is now back to the board. Question is, does the board have any questions, concerns? What is the board's will? Do we want to approve this project? Yes, no, maybe.
So do we have to act on the waivers first? Does that,
We will act on the waivers and then we would do the conditions of approval. So,
well, I have no objections to the project. I would vote in favor.
okay, all right. Anybody have anything else? Kim, do you have anything? I know usually questions.
No, I read the last meeting notes that we had, the minutes, but it had quite a strict list in there. But I think you covered most of that. It was there. I think it's okay.
As to the waiver,
Oh, maybe, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fire hydrants weren't on the plan, but you had the extinguishers at the end of the building. Is that-
Right. Yeah, that's what the fire
Steve
department. I
wants
think
to say,
I
too.
added a note saying that they would be
Yeah.
on sheet 1.
Yeah.
Note 18 says potable fire extinguishers shall be mounted to the ends of the outside buildings closest to the fence and shall have lights to identify them. And that's pretty much just word for word from
From
fire department.
Stevens.
Yep.
Okay, yep, okay.
There was also something from fire department having the buildings numbered, and we added that note as well.
And the Conservation Commission, did they give the blessing on the sidewalk? It looked like somebody was there.
There were members of the Conservation Commission there.
Good.
I don't think they had any issues, my understanding. No, so I think we're good on that. All right. My only question to the board is, do we want to waive the escrow fee? That's my question. Is it $10,000? Do we want to do that, or is that something that,
You have an amount in the escrow, and they have agreed, if we go over that, they'll pay excess.
You could make it a condition of approval that before we get issued a start of construction, that any outstanding escrow fees are paid.
the board feel that's reasonable?
So is there do we have an estimate of how much the fees will be? So is 500 a reasonable amount?
It'll be probably around that amount or a little over, I would imagine, because we're covering Lou's fee and Jay's.
And we'll have another review of comment response, so there may be a little bit of extra time for that as well.
So we could technically make it a condition of approval to any outstanding fees.
Yeah, it always
We pay
is,
and-
that fees are paid.
that they be paid at that time.
The site plan's in great shape, you know,
Mhm.
it was always gonna go back for more engineering, like some that we've seen.
All right. Okay, well then, I think, well, first of all, we'll start with the waiver requests. Unless the board has any other questions, or want to talk about anything else, then we can do the waiver requests. I don't know if the board wants to do them individually or they want to do them all at once, as they've laid out in the sections. But I would entertain a motion on the waiver requests. And those requests, and I can have them here, section, let's see here. Section 120.14.4 AP, which is the parking spaces. Request a waiver. As they say, the parking requirement for mini warehouse requires 1 space per 5 units. The project proposes that grade storage unit in which customers will have space to park in front of their units, removing the need for dedicated parking spaces. Spacing between the units has been increased to 28 feet from the typical 24-foot two-way drive aisle spacing. To provide additional space, additional parking spaces have been provided near the existing greenhouse structure where the leasing office will be located. And according to the applicant, this does meet the spirit and intent as met for adequate space for customers to park in front of the units. So do we have a motion to approve this waiver?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the waiver for section 120.14 4AP parking spaces. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
I have a second. Do I have any discussion? All right, all those in favor of section 120.14.4 AP waiving the parking spaces requirement signify by saying aye, and you have to raise your hand. Aye. Those opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. Okay. As to the traffic impact studies, section 150.4, this self-storage facilities are considered a soft use and draw fairly low traffic demands compared to other commercial and industrial uses. Given the existing volume of traffic on Charles Bancroft Highway in this area, the impact will be very minimal, and therefore we feel that the traffic study is not warranted for this project. This use has such low demand on traffic that the impact to the Charles Bancroft Highway does not warrant the need for a study, as it will be minimal and does not create any unsafe conditions. I would entertain a motion to approve the waiver for traffic impact study.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And do I have discussion? All right. If there's no discussion, all those in favor of approving the waiver for traffic impact study, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 6-0-0. Okay. And finally, well, no, actually not finally, excuse me. Section 150.5 internal circulation plan. The reason for granting this waiver, customers will drive in the dedicated entrance and enter the secure and closed project site through a locked gate. The facility is completely secured and customers will drive to their unit and park their car. Therefore, circulation for vehicles and pedestrians within the self-storage area and within the other uses on the property will not be an issue. A traffic circulation plan to ensure safe and pedestrian and vehicular integration around this project is not applicable, as the site is fenced in and fully contained and does not integrate with other uses on the property. If nobody has any objection, then,
I
yes.
just have a question. There
Okay.
was a stop sign going onto the highway,
Yeah.
leaving your facility. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, then I would entertain a motion for section 150.5 internal circulation plan, requested waiver to approve.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Do I have any further discussion? All right, all those signify by saying aye, raise your hand. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. Okay. Oh, yes. Section Appendix F of Site Plan Review Regulations as to escrow. This requested waiver, basically at the direction of the planning staff, a waiver is being requested as the required funds are anticipated to not be aligned with the review needs for this project. Additional funds will be provided as needed for project review. The provided escrow is the approximate amount needed for this project. Additional funds will be provided as needed. I believe it's $500 that's in the account, correct? Okay. Does the board have any questions on this? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve this waiver with the condition that any outstanding fees will be paid accordingly. Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have discussion? All right, motion second. All those in favor, please raise your hand and signify aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. And finally, the one that we just mentioned on color,
12013-5.
12013, thank you. All right,
I
120.
guess there's more, but if I don't
Okay,
want to
that's all right. All right, there's a waiver request made before the board tonight on section 120.13.5 as to building massing forms and pedestrian scale regarding the color, variation in color
Roof lines
for the, what, I'm sorry?
and roof lines.
And roof lines.
For over 50-foot structures.
For over 50-foot structures. The applicant is requesting a waiver from this. If the board has any questions, doesn't have any questions, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
And I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do I have discussion? All those signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. Okay, I think that completes the waiver requirements. Okay. Now we will go to the approval process. I'm sorry, I
This is my copy of this. I
apologize.
Yes, mix it up.
Go to the approval process. Does the board have any other questions or concerns before we go to approval? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the project for VAB Properties LLC, 55 Charles Bancroft Highway, map 1, lot 18, Litchfield, New Hampshire, on the following conditions. That the applicant will comply with the recommendations made in the report of July 15, 2019, drafted by Mr. Luke Herron, the town engineer. And that is regarding to plan sheets numbers 6, 9, 15, the drainage calculations. And we've already discussed the waivers, so we're not going to worry about those, but those have already been dealt with. But those recommendations will become part of the plan as conditionally approved. Also, the DES stormwater regulation report will be a condition of approval for this project, as will the alteration of terrain. Also, a report also be a condition of approval based on the recommendations by DES as to those two processes. Permitting applications, excuse me. Okay. So as to state permits, those become a condition of approval. The waivers, as we have stated tonight, will be incorporated into the plan, and they should be noted on the plan. Hours of operation should be noted on the plan. The landscaping plan should be accompany the, it will be a condition of approval as to the site plan review. Also, the recommendation of the fire department, the report made by the fire department will also become a condition of approval for this project this evening, and those of the police department as well. The lighting plan will also be incorporated into the site plan review And that basically that it's on the condition confirming that the building mounting lights will be motion activated and set on timers, as has been previously addressed here for this board. Again, we talked about the fire extinguishers and the lease restrictions related to hazardous material storage. That is a condition. And that's part of the fire, I believe, in fire inspector's report. And I'm also going to incorporate into the condition of approval those recommendations that were made in your letter of July 12, 2019, based on Luke Herron's recommendations as to the overview plan, sheet 1, site layout plan, sheet 6, the grading and drainage plan, and the erosion control plan, and the construction detail plan. And of course, that would also be sheet 15 and 16, alteration of terrain permit. We've talked about that as a condition. Also, the ADA requirements, that will also be a condition of approval, that they are adequate areas for the site for the units, and that they comply with ADA regulation. Does the board have anything else that they want to add as a condition of approval? I know I'm going through this stuff. But,
The outstanding escrow fees had to be paid.
right, we made that a condition, part of the waiver application, any outstanding fees. But also make it a condition of the approval process tonight that any outstanding fees that need to be paid when time comes. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add? Okay. If not, I think that basically covers everything. At this time, I'll entertain a motion based on those conditions that I've just read into the record to approve the VAB Properties project as conditioned.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have discussion? All those signify by saying aye, and you have to raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion carries 6-0-0. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for all your hard work. We're incorporating our comments and the comments of the staff and so forth. We wish you the best of luck in your project, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Are you staying in the room?
This is an initial.
Okay.
Oh, it's been a couple, this is probably the third meeting. So it's been a couple months.
Thank you, Mr. Karen, for coming. Have a good night. Take care. Yeah. Excuse me. Just give me 1 second.
Take your time.
Okay, moving on. The next item of business this evening, number 2 on the agenda, is a conceptual subdivision plan by the estate of Fred D. and Janet McQuestion, tax map 15, lot 14, 124 Hillcrest Road, to subdivide one lot into 16 lots in the residential district. Now, just so that everyone's on this, everyone knows, under the subdivision regulations for Litchfield, section 310.01 conceptual consultation, that an applicant may request a meeting with the board to discuss a proposal in conceptual form and in general terms. The conceptual consultations must be conducted at a public meeting of the board, but do not require formal notification of abutters. The conceptual consultation is informal and will adhere to the following: that 1, all requests for conceptual consultation shall be made in writing and received no less than 15 days prior to the meeting at which the applicant wishes to appear. The applicant may bring in a site location map or a base map of the site, which provides minimal detail of the proposal. And the board and the applicant may discuss the basic concept of the proposal, review the proposal with regard to the master plan and the zoning ordinance, and explain the applicable local regulations and provide guidance relative to other state and local requirements. With that said, I'm going to ask the members of the applicant to introduce himself this evening, and so introduce yourself to the board. So.
Yeah. So again, Tucker McCarthy, Keach Nordstrom Associates. With me this evening is John Noseworthy. He is the court-appointed executor of the estate for this property, and with some questions are the owners. So as previously noted, this is located on map 15, lot 14, which is 124 Hillcrest Road. We are just west of the intersection of Hillcrest and Albuquerque Road, which is right down the street from us here. As stated already, this is located in the residential single-family zone. And the parent parcel is approximately just over 30 acres. There is a large wetland that is in the center of this lot. And there is also a small stream on the eastern portion of the lot towards Hillcrest Road. This property is a long, skinny property. It actually has frontage on Hillcrest Road as well as Charles Bancroft Highway. And so we are here this evening to conceptually discuss a 16-lot subdivision on this property. There is an existing house on the property, which is, yep, thank you, Rick. So that will be one of the 16 lots will be created for that house to remain as it is. So we are proposing a dead-end road. It's approximately 1,500 feet long. We will be crossing the existing wetland stream. We are on the agenda for the August 1st with the Conservation Commission. What we're proposing is an open box culvert. It's a fairly skinny stream. We will be going to the state for a temporary impact plan, as we plan to need temporary impact to cross a wetland for construction. We would place abutments on either side outside of the jurisdictional wetland, so there are no permanent impacts, and then they would place a culvert over the top of that for the proposed road. So there are a number of different steps for this project. One of them is that we would be requesting a conditional use permit with the planning board to not provide an open space subdivision. And I can get into that in a little bit. We also are on the agenda for August 14th with the zoning board. We are requesting a variance. The lot that has frontage on Charles Bancroft Highway has 132.8 feet of frontage, where there's 150 feet required. So we would be accessing that if there wasn't a large wetland in the middle of the site. This is dry land. There's adequate space for a house on it. We're just under 18 feet short on the frontage, so we're going to request a lot for that frontage on Charles Bancroft with the zoning board. And then we will also be requesting a special exception from the zoning board for the crossing of the wetland and work within the 50-foot buffer. We will also have state permits for wetland, alteration of terrain for stormwater, and then we will also have a permit with the DOT for the new curb cut and roadway. So those are basically the highlights. I did kind of want to just discuss with the board, and I don't know, I kind of sent Joan a concept. I did do a quick concept for the open space. And if it's okay for me to submit into the record, I did bring copies of that for everybody. So this is an 11 by 17 of the conventional subdivision as well as the open space subdivision.
Thanks.
I did one for any members of the public.
Yeah, there's another one.
Oh, there's actually, okay, sorry about that. So as I'm sure you're aware, your subdivision and regulations require an open space subdivision. There are a few different criteria that allow for a conditional use permit. We would be requesting the conditional use permit under section 575.4.1, A1, which states that the parcel is ill-suited for development using conservation open space development design or conventional design provides greater or equal benefits to the community, and the conventional subdivision design retains and protects important natural or cultural features identified by the planning board and or the site inventory. So as we prepared the open space subdivision plan, one of the biggest questions I had is obviously one of the large expenses of building this road is crossing the wetland and putting in a culvert. The open space, unfortunately, does not relieve that need for crossing the wetlands. It really only shortens the road by about 500 feet. And one of the things that we looked at is that if there was to be open space created behind these lots, there's a large wetland right behind there. The only access would be to cut through between two lots, and people would be kind of bounded by this area behind there. It doesn't really have much value. The other thing is that the applicant is looking to retain one of these lots in the back for himself to build a house, and he would like some privacy. He also desires to have some bigger lots in the subdivision that would be provided in open space. The road is to be called Jennifer Drive, which is the applicant's daughter's name. So those are the reasonings for us requesting that. And if the board has any questions about that, happy to answer them.
Does the board have any questions they would like to ask the applicant? Okay.
Generally, the selectmen won't approve people names anymore on streets.
Sorry,
Pardon me?
didn't know that.
Generally, selectmen won't approve people names on streets anymore.
Okay. Is there guidance on what they can be named?
There's a historic list.
But supposedly, what I'm hearing, do not like to use people's names for dedicated streets. Like Shirley, Kate, Oregon. Don't know why. Just goes back a long
Because the
time.
street signs have a habit of leaving.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll work on that.
We'll decide
It
if we.
was kind of in a pinch.
We call it pitch.
Yeah. I'm also gonna come up with a name for the development as well, but I haven't come to terms with that as well. And it will be appropriate.
What was the number on it for the waiver? You were saying for the open space, what was the number for it?
Additional use permit.
575.4.1. 21 on the zoning.
Thank you.
Yeah, it gives 6 criteria. So we were requesting this criteria 1. The open space doesn't really work because this lot is so long and skinny. It allows you to do less frontage, but we can't do the less frontage because we don't have the land because it's so skinny. There's really no other way to lay the road out rather than right down the middle of the parcel. So
And you're requesting a variance from the zoning board.
So that would be for lot 16, which is the westerly side. Yeah, thank you, Rick.
Okay.
frontage right here.
Okay.
The other thing, so I'm not sure, I don't know, but John and Fred have worked for a long time. And I help them coach.
Okay.
When it comes to narrowing up the frontage, you don't get to fit a house with a garage on it very easily. Same thing we went through with the page road, we did the subdivision over a couple of weeks ago. We tried to do the conservation subdivision. It's really difficult to get a house with a garage on it and with all the setback requirements. So you can get smaller, it just, for the house that you want to build and the house that you want to build here, doesn't really fit on those lots either. So,
Very similar to Westview now. Westview is the same problem.
I mean, if you're gonna build a bigger house, you've gotta have. It needs to have more because it's narrow, but you can get down.
The other thing I would like to mention is that these will be, each lot will be on septic, but there is town water.
Is it safe?
You
We
want to bring that up?
the other thing I'd like to address is that we are in the Aquifer Protection District. We did test pits all over the site as deep as the machine could go, and we didn't find groundwater anywhere. It's a big sand pit, basically.
Interesting. Okay.
So you look across the street and there's like, it's an odd sight.
And is it PSNH has an easement that goes across?
It actually cuts right through the wetland, yeah.
It's the one they've been working on all.
Okay. All right.
So if you've got bigger lots, does that actually mean you might have to clear a little less trees to make the space for the houses, like instead of clearing the entire lot? Or how would you normally develop the subdivisions?
You can clear the lot, what you need to have a lot in the house area.
The leach fields.
And then, you know, you're probably gonna thin out the trees and leave some of the bigger trees.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You go over on paved road and that basically that's.
Yeah. Okay.
That PSNH easement going right through that centerpiece, right?
It's actually
Yeah, I just noted that.
right through the wetland.
It looks like they're building a road in there or something, gravel. Did they build a road in there?
They
It looks strange.
temporary road.
They're doing the repairs on the poles and they're changing off, the whole process coming all through. It's gonna be a tough golf course.
I noticed there's members of the public here. Normally, in a conceptual design, you necessarily don't have to open it up to public opinion, a public comment. But is there anyone here tonight from the public who would like? I will open it. I can open it up to
Well, let me
questions.
clarify. I notified the butters because it was design review and they were laying out a plan, so.
Okay, that's
why we
fine.
notified the butters.
no, I understand.
Yeah, we're happy.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, so I'll open it up to public comment at this time if the board doesn't have any further questions.
So
Go
is this
ahead.
a planned subdivision under 356A?
Yeah, so it would be conventional
But it's
subdivision.
it's a planned subdivision with a common,
No, it's not PUD.
No, yeah, it would be a public road.
Public road.
no, and I understand.
Okay.
It's a difficult public road with one lot, 1 acre subdivision lots.
So there's not an association in this subdivision. It's not organized that way.
No, it would be built to town standards so that the town would be able to accept the road.
Okay.
Okay. So if there's any members of the public who would like at this time to comment, you can come forward and introduce yourselves, state your name and address, and if you have any questions or concerns, we'll be happy to. No? Yes? Okay. All right. Well, I was just curious because I saw a lot of people in the back and I didn't know if anyone was here for this project.
Have the plans and everything.
Okay.
That's the first thing, right?
That's the first thing. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Anticipation.
Very good.
So we are likely going to submit full design plans the end of this week, first thing next week,
Okay.
for the August 20th hearing,
The August 20th. And when are you going before the zoning board?
the 14th,
The 14th.
conservation on the 1st.
And conservation on the first. Just curious, I know this is only a conceptual design at this point. It's not an official site plan. But I want, one feeling from the board, would anybody here be interested in doing maybe at some point doing a site walk for this project?
I was actually just asking John, we've actually scheduled a site walk for conservation.
You did?
I'd be
Okay.
happy if the planning board would like to attend July 27th at 10 a.m. Sorry for the short notice, but Joan was kind of doing forward thinking,
July
and
27th?
scheduling that for the conservation before their hearing. So
Okay. Does, would that work for anybody on the board, if anyone's interested in attending?
Sure.
Jay, does that work for you or no?
No, but maybe I'll have somebody else come.
Okay.
That's a Saturday?
Is it a Saturday? Yeah.
It is.
Joan was unable to attend, so we invited if any members. We went out there last week, so I will say bring your bug spray if you're going to come.
Okay.
Joan was smart. I was not.
Meeting up on Hillcrest right over there?
Right at the existing house. Yeah, the house is vacant.
That's right.
Yeah, the house is vacant. There's a fairly large driveway there. There's also a driveway in front of the barn that you can pull in and park.
All right. So,
About how long would this take, you think?
The site walk?
Yeah.
It takes about 10, 15 minutes to get back out there. So
Yeah, an hour tops. And there's an easy path out there.
It's all downhill, but you gotta come up.
there's some old snowmobile trails out there, so
okay.
don't need to bushwhack through.
All right. So I guess if anyone's available on July 27th at 10 on a site walk, along with the Conservation Commission, and just to get a feel for this project and get an idea. Okay, great. Anything else? Anybody have any questions? Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much for having given us the opportunity to see what you're proposing. And if all goes well, we may see you again.
All right.
Here.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
It's nice that the butters actually came.
Oh, yeah. The crop siren stuff. That was a fun one.
Okay, next item on the agenda is committee reports. Any reports from any committees? Do you have anything, Kim? I know we're in IPC or anything, or?
No, I could not attend that meeting.
Okay.
Family emergency.
Okay. Can't remember. Did I attend the last conservation meeting? That's pretty bad.
Well, it was way back in June.
It was way back in June. Okay, yeah. So I think I did attend it. Yeah, all right. I wasn't sure. I don't know. Not sure about the Lower Merrimack River Local Advisory Committee. I'll have to get more information whether they're going to be meeting or not. Usually they post that. It usually goes on the NRPC page. Approval of the June 18th meeting minutes and the June 29th, 2019 site walk minutes. Does anybody have any questions on those?
So there's on page 3, mine shows up in red. It says
Wait a second.
Wells.
The June 18th?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
I can't get to it, so I'm happy with my umbrellas.
Where,
Oh, I saw that.
So
The last
it's just above the
Yeah,
agenda item number 2, the line just above that, there's a red dot and this has the word wells in red.
Under Kim Q, ask about
We were
the
going to-
fire hydrant.
check on that, I think, Wells.
Scratch it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, mhm, okay,
We worked on these together.
okay.
Is that for VHB?
Yeah.
This is for that,
Yeah, the well-
that meeting last week. So
Yeah, the,
Yeah,
Okay, the
yeah.
meeting, the well is on site, it's right there, it's located on the plan.
On site? Okay, I'll just put on site.
And the second line has a problem. It doesn't have a day. It just says Tuesday, 2019.
Where are you?
Page 1. The first line. Well, second line on page 1.
Tuesday, okay, yep.
You just gotta
Yep,
put dates,
thanks.
whatever day. Yep.
okay. If there's no other issues, then I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes for June 18th, 2019, and for the June 29th site plan.
Sidewalk.
I'm sorry, site walk. Thank you.
so moved.
Okay.
I have to abstain from one of them.
Okay.
Are we doing them together?
You don't have to abstain.
Well, I wasn't at the sidewalk, so I can't.
All right. Well, I'll do them separately then.
Oh, we don't have to do that one. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. No. Because there wasn't a quorum. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So.
But you don't have to abstain to. approve.
So I guess I'll
If you weren't there.
Gotta ask you why.
'Cause I was doing that for a while.
Okay, so I have did I hear a motion?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a motion to accept the June 18, 2019 minutes as amended and the sidewalk minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have discussion?
Who seconded that, please?
Tony? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Okay.
And I have to say,
And he is, okay. So, motion carries what? 1, 2,
I abstained.
right. 2, 1, 2, 3,
Kevin abstained.
4, 5,
Okay.
2, yeah, 0, 2. 5,
For
0,
both sets, right?
4, 0, 2, right? Because 6, there's 6 of us.
No, there's 7 because Kevin's back.
Oh,
You abstained, Kevin?
yeah, he abstained. He can't, right,
I'm not part of that at all.
no.
Can't abstain.
502?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's 502 because it's 7, yeah.
5-0.
Got it. I didn't go to school for math. I'm sorry. I went to law school. I didn't go to be a PhD in math. I'm sorry. Okay. Uh-huh.
We have humor. Keep it up. Some days it's not as good as others.
That's very true. Any other business before the board this evening? Jay, do you have anything that you would like to add? Joan, do you have anything? Okay. No other business. And then does the board have any other business?
Well, I had questions about what he had brought up at the beginning of the meeting with the why we're issuing permits if they're not on the plan. Is that something that we need to look? Because we looked at updating a couple of the regulations. Is that something that
The
should be in there?
temporary building inspector issued the building permit and concurred with the fire department. And off they went, and then it went downhill from there.
It's
But
not
it's-
a regulatory issue. It's an enforcement issue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
As the selectmen's rep, we can't speak about it. It's under litigating right now.
Right?
Okay. So he may come in and say what he wants to say. That's nice. We still can't say anything about it because it's under litigation. It's under.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
We will have no discussions on that then.
Okay. As much as there's more to it, meets the eye. That's all I can say to you.
Perfectly understandable.
Most lawyers know.
No, that's true. Yeah, go ahead.
We had that open seat for NRPC.
Yes.
I had made a comment to a few people that I was noticing it was advisory only, but it's not regulatory, but it's starting to get more powerful people in that room. We have state reps now. It's not just planning board members is my point. So we have one opening and I don't know if you want to go and see if anybody from the Board of Selectmen wants to go or somebody else from the town.
Yeah,
Other than the
it's
planning
for
board
the planning
members.
board to make the nomination to the selectmen, but it doesn't have to be a planning board member, it can be anybody.
We have state reps in there now as well. You know, it's just getting,
Okay.
Everybody.
it's moving that way. But the reason I bring that up is as a planning board member, something came up that I really needed input from the Board of Selectmen. I shouldn't have been the one, having to vote a certain way. So I had to go and ask for help.
Mhm.
But if someone else had
You can
more
ask me.
information than I did, it would have been helpful. That's all.
If I have the time,
Hmm.
the winter, I have more time. Summer, I don't have time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
a
know.
farmer,
Everybody, yeah.
okay?
Because I was actually thinking, and I don't know, that maybe I would, go back and be just, to be there if you needed someone to be a commissioner. I'll say it, I'll express an interest in doing it if that's okay with everybody. But of course, if anybody else wants to do it, then certainly you're welcome to.
Can I ask a question? Anybody can go to the meetings, right?
Right.
That's right.
It's public.
So it'd be wise if you all, and I've been to a lot of over my short time, okay? Been to Jay's world, I don't know how many times, okay? But I'm just saying, it'd be good for you to all go, okay? If there's a meeting scheduled, let everybody know and see if they got the night off to go see what's going on. Because it may interest you even more if you see what's going on. Sometimes the agendas can be very bleak, as we all know. Okay, that's life. So I suggest you going. When you start talking about the circumvention highway with NRPC and a few others, Hudson, you start getting yourself involved a little bit more. That's when it gets, the selectmen get a little more involved. Okay, so it's good for you folks to at least go to the meetings. You're not appointed per se, but you can go and listen to what's going on. Then you may want to say, hey, this is fun.
Well, I know when Tom Young was chair, he was very much involved in NRPC, and he did love it. And he was very passionate about it, and he did a great job, coming to the meetings and giving us the input. So I think it is important to have someone, or at least have a voice there.
Tom and I used to go every once in a while together.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Right.
it was about something that would involve zoning or
Mhm.
health or something like that, and I, being who I was, I went up and spoke against it. It's nice to see your other towns and people in the same shoes that you're in, okay, and how difficult it can be, and how easy it can be if you get the right questions, the right answers.
Right.
It's really a lot of fun.
It's good to see what our area is doing, the 13 surrounding towns.
Correct. There's a
So
lot
we don't
going on
act
on the other
alone,
side
we
of
can
the
also
river.
act together.
Think about it.
Right.
Pelham, Hudson, and Litchfield. That's it, on the east side of the river.
Yeah.
We are the suburbs,
Mm-hmm.
okay? It's always happening on the other side. That's where the NRPC group is generated from.
There's a lot of free education, I don't know if it's free, I don't know if our town pays, but the education is wonderful, the lecture series. Just to keep it up with the legal of what's going on
The
in the
legal
state.
aspect is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to do that on his
He's
day
on
off.
legal.
Lawyers want to go to legal
It's all day
seminars.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by the educational? So just by
They'll have
Going to the
certain
meeting?
topics in the state that, are in front of legislation of the state reps, and we will see how the cases ended up, or if they're in process, what's happening. Because we might have planning board, meetings where somebody's bringing up the same topic.
and they'll give kind of like a
So we would have some
tutorial what-
information on it before, that somebody from the public comes in and presents a case.
In the summertime, it can be a little hard to get everybody together. That's life. That's the winter. They all like to go out in the winter around here, never in the summer. Okay, so Jay knows what I'm talking about. Okay, the summertime, they don't plan a lot. They just try to get through the 2 months and the kids are out of school, and that's it,
But we can, definitely get the agenda out to everybody for the next meeting, which will be in September.
See, kids are back at school, guys.
And the executive committee meetings are every month, and those are also open to the public.
Yep.
There'll be one tomorrow night at 6.
You
That's
going?
usually that's usually a smaller agenda, but.
Do you want?
Oh, okay.
Well, I thought that was just like the top people went. And that
It's
was,
more of a business meeting.
Yeah.
There's not really presentations and
Yeah.
stuff, but they're open to the public.
oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Nashua likes to throw a few surprises in.
Okay. So I guess it's something to think about. As I said, I may have an interest in going back. So if that's,
If you could find somebody to take your Limerlac position, then you could go back to.
that's true.
Can I ask one more question about 2019 or 2018? I was not here most of the year, so do you have any changes in the zoning that were voted through that I don't recall? That you put into the updated zoning?
Not 2018, we didn't have it.
No,
Good, okay, good, I'm up to date.
you're up to date. You're with us.
Because I'm getting phone calls all the time from locals, because the decision making is a little hard here sometimes.
If there's nothing else,
One real quick thing at the
Oh, go
beginning,
ahead.
we have no more alternates.
We
I
don't
heard-
have any alternates right now.
Okay.
Everybody's a full member.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll get a full board though, right?
Recruiting them.
Handed an application for
Yeah.
oh,
yesterday.
Yesterday? Who did you give it to? What is your name?
Stevens.
Stevens. Stevens.
Okay.
Okay.
There's another one.
Yep.
Welcome to this feast.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to give,
Presentation tonight.
did you fill out the application? Okay, all right, good. So Joan will probably be in touch with you and maybe we can have you in for
August 20th,
an interview for the
6th?
Yeah.
August 6th?
August 6th. Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you for your interest. And
I saw you there, Mr. Stevens. That's why I brought it up. Yep. He mentioned it to me a couple weeks ago.
okay, good, great. All right, cool. All right. That's right. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the
Okay.
meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Do I have discussion? All those signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion carries 7-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening and hope that your summer is going well and that we'll see you soon. Thank you.